Hey all, Andy here. Great to have that premiere with you. For those who were with me, we're doing some productivity stuff this week. This is a recap show. It's a recap to the recap show, so to speak. We just did a premiere on YouTube, and if you were with the premiere, it should be routing you over to me here. It's a little wacky. So I just want to make sure everybody is making it over, and my chat is in order, and I think we're in order. And give me a second. This is just a little bit weird because I lit it up a little bit early, but I think we should be in order now. Kara, did we make it over to the new? Yeah, I think we did. Okay, I just need to check because I'm in multiple places on YouTube. It's like you're omnipresent in my big striped shirt. So I did a wardrobe change. I magically changed the weather. As you can see, it's nice and sunny out where I am now, and it was dreary and cold and miserable and dark in January when we did the other one. Okay, wait. Great to have you. And I saw Isa, Forrest. Great to have you. Saul, Patricia, Eileen, Missy. But I can, okay. And Kara, that's all good. Let's add the regular download tool. I'm going to show them this in a second. And y'all had some great questions in the premiere. And so this is like one of those little crossover events. So if you happen to somewhere in the future be catching this show wondering what the hell's going on, we just did, we had 4 pieces to a productivity mini camp throughout the week. And it's Thursday right now when I'm recording this live. On Monday, I sent a 20-minute or so video on how to plan your weeks and days. On Tuesday, I sent a 20-minute or so video on how to run your day. On Wednesday, I gave you a video on running projects. And then Thursday, we just got done with a premiere, which was a 5-lesson recap show, which is going to live on my YouTube channel. And now we're doing a recap and a Q&A live. So all those questions that we had from the chat from the premiere, we're going to pull those over. Kara's got them. And if you just joined me, before I even say hello to everybody and just really appreciate you because of all the attention you've given me all week, make sure to grab this 1-page daily planning tool. I referenced it a number of times throughout the shows, throughout the week, and this is a quick snapshot of how I think through my day, what goes where, what I generally like to do during certain hours of the day. This is free. It's all in one spot. It's a great little reminder. What I always like to say to you is take what you like, leave the rest. Hopefully this will give you some ideas on how you can run your day. This is my 1-page daily planning tool. Kara will drop that in the chat, so please grab it. And we're going to go into the Q&A here in a minute. I think I was trying to think of a different way to maybe talk you through some of the ways that I discovered some of the techniques that I shared with you this past week. And if you really like the mini camp's going to be up for a few more days. And this is the mini version of my overall productivity challenge, which is a much deeper, lengthier videos, more instruction, more in-depth, all the tools, all the templates, the productivity toolkits, and everything else that's on a deeper level. And that's something that you can either enroll in outright just for the training course if you're interested, or I do give it as a bonus to a free complimentary program for members of my leadership coaching program. But I do want to give you some insight into where I came up with some of what I came up with, because I think as I cover some of the different stints throughout my career, it might help you understand how you can apply these techniques to what it is that the way you might run your day, right? Because your day might be different than my day is today. So anyway, so again, Saul, Isa, Kara, thanks for having my back always. Can everybody give Kara a shout out for helping me with this all week and basically for the last umpteen years of our lives? Eileen, Missy, fan of Andy, Michael Tierney, Michael Murphy, what's up? Kristen, Ian, Terry, Cherry, Lisa. Oh, you guys are great. Let me know where you're from. Put some question marks in front of your questions. Now I was thinking, all right, so we all have these incredibly busy lives, and we do this to ourselves because we like people. We like our friends. We like our family. I have 4 dogs floating around here somewhere. Hopefully they won't start barking at the roofers that are next door, putting the roof on my Tom and Marilyn, my neighbor's house, and work. And then we've become more accessible, right? And right, the 24/7. I operate as an international career coach. I'm doing coaching sessions sometimes at 5 in the morning, not my preferred slot, but when somebody in Hong Kong wants to meet with me and really wants my help, I move some things around to make these things happen. And then there's the accessibility with these things that make us always accessible, where you could be checking your email while you're waiting in the doctor's office, or it's Saturday when you're running your errands and your boss expects you to do that, right? So we've become very, very good at being distracted. And even when I think about what my time is worth in terms of what I can get done, and if I really think in terms of pieces, right? I want to write that book, the book that I just have finished the first draft of. So you were hearing me talk about writing sessions, and that was back in January. Well, now we're doing this, and we're here live near the end of March. And those 90,000 words that I was talking about that go into, I'm already there. I already wrote them. I didn't write it all at once, but I wrote for pieces each day for so many days in a row. But it was just like brushing my teeth, or just like exercising, or whatever it is that we do on a routine basis. When we can create the space in our lives to build the skills we want, write the books we want, climb the figurative mountains that we want to, that needs to be broken down, and your level of concentration, focus, and discipline and willpower has to be so dialed in that you do it day in and day out when the victory line or the finish line or the whatever line seems so far away. And a lot of what I have built and designed and tinkered with over the years, number one, the first thing I want to say to you about that is, if you're trying to practice what I just taught you this past week or over these past few years as I've been running this productivity challenge, just remember, that's years of tinkering and years of practice to be able to do that fairly effortlessly. Do not beat yourself up if you can't figure it out in a week. Okay, so what I try to do is introduce you to my best tactics, and what happened is these have grown over time. So when the way that I solved the kind of the puzzle that I gave you this week is, when I was an electrical engineering student. I got out of school and I took a job as an information technology and management consultant at a very large consulting firm. It's called Accenture now. It was called Anderson, or actually it might have been Arthur Anderson Consulting, that then changed to Anderson Consulting, but basically one of the big 4 consultancies. And I would work on building programs and computer modules and things of that nature that were a large part, or that were pieces of a larger system. And I would have work estimates of, this should take you X days, X hours, X whatevers. And I started looking at this thinking, if I'm going to manage something that's supposed to take me 40 hours and I'm supposed to work 8 hours a day, and I need to get this done by the end of the week, that there's no way that I'm going to be able to have a frame of reference that it's just going to look like one big to-do, an activity for me. And I need to be able to pace myself to know that on a Wednesday that I'm going to be able to hit my Friday deadline. And when you don't have a lot of experience with something, or even if you do, your ability to track and notate what you're doing at any moment in time is your greatest source of feeding your psyche that you know you're making progress, or giving you feedback to know you need to make adjustments, or both, right? And being able to track and look back. And then what else did I talk about? Reflect and note where I was. How much did I accomplish, right? That day I said I struggled 1,440 words. Felt like I was wrestling with it for 5 hours, even though it was probably an hour and 15 minutes of writing. But I needed to stop and look at what happened and notate how much progress I made, so that whenever I encountered that situation again, I would know that I was still making progress. I was able to maintain focus, not get worried. So I had a period in my life where I would focus on activities like that, where I did my best to break them up into smaller chunks, even if I was handed an assignment with an estimate that said 40 hours or whatever it might have been. Hang on, let me get to in 1 second. And so, early in my life and in my career, that's what I started to do. And I noticed that I was able to be faster, be fresher and sharper. I always had a better handle on where I was in the process. Then when I became an executive recruiter and I left the IT space, the information technology consulting space after about 17 or 18 years of that, and I became an executive recruiter, my day was much, much different. It had different kind of activities. I had to prospect each day to try to find clients. I had to, if I had clients and I had job searches for them searches for people that I was conducting for those clients, there was searching that I needed to do and calling individuals that I would try to recruit, potential employees. There was interviewing them that I had to do each day. There was then meeting with my clients or calling my clients. And there was a number of these things that I needed to do each day in order to make sure that my business was healthy. I was able to sell services, but I was also able to fulfill the services. And these are very, very difficult activities, and you don't always know how long each of these is going to take. So one of the ways that I developed a really good rhythm and a cadence where I was trying to do a lot of activities was I made sure, and I know if my mother is here, she's probably going to laugh her butt off when I throw this term out, but I created a workday where I had what I called the sacred six. The sacred six were between 8:30 and 11:30 and 1:30 and 4:30. During those times, the sacred six meant I was not to be interrupted by anything, not myself, not my parents, not my friends, not my siblings, not my anything. I didn't pick the phone up. I didn't look at email. I didn't do anything. The 3-hour blocks were completely planned according to what I was going to do. So between 8:30 and say 9:15, I would make cold calls and cold call and prospect for clients. Between 9:15 and 9:20, I'd take a break. 9:20 to 10 o'clock, I did whatever, and so on. In a 3-hour block, I made sure that there was time allocated, and I noticed that over time what happened was, as I kept it's like eating a steady diet. As you continue to feed different parts of whatever you need to do. So in my case, I was a business owner, but I was still a recruiter. And even if I was a recruiter in somebody else's company, I still would have operated the same way. But what that enabled me to do was ensure that I was paying attention to each aspect of the business each day. And what that did was it made sure that my job candidate pipeline, my potential client pipeline, all of these pipelines and things that I know do not happen overnight was being fed each day with little bits so that it was being nurtured and tended to. Not to mention the skill sets that are required to do certain things will atrophy if you are not practicing them day in and day out, right? We've got this expression in sales, right? By the time you realize you need to prospect, it's too late. It's the same way for what? I know I got a lot of job seekers here. What do I always say, right? We want you to be feeding your sales funnel, so to speak. That's the selling of you every single day. Well, all you need to do is allocate time on your calendar each day that says feed the funnel. Except inside feed the funnel, it needs to say, I'm going to send these emails to these people during these hours, during these days. And so when I started to associate the specific deliverable, the specific activity with a spot on the calendar, I knew that time made me focus. And time made me pay attention to what I had to do. The reason to-do lists are ineffective when you use them to run your day, I'm not saying lists are ineffective. Lists are absolutely wonderful, right? I want you to have lists. I want you to have the right lists. But if you're using a to-do list to run your day, it's not going to give you that sense of focus and that sense of time. And you will not have the relationship between this thing's due at 10 o'clock because at 10 o'clock I need to start something else. Okay, so I want you to know that when you think about how you go through your day, and then as I evolved into being a career coach where I have even more demands that I have placed upon myself, right? That because I choose what I do, but even if I didn't, right? Every single day I build something that I'm going to sell, a product, I service it, I figure out how to market my services. We have ongoing activities that occur not only every week, like a Tuesday digest that you get and a Thursday digest that you get, but also what? Social media that goes out every day and all of these other things. And then you throw in special projects like writing a book or other things that take a long period of time. You need to make sure that if somebody asks me, well, how do you get all those things done? Well, the easiest way to get all of those things done is by allocating time to all of those things all of the time. Okay, so that's where a lot of the techniques with planning your week and running your days came from. Because if you think about all the things that you want to accomplish, the different work projects that you have, some of them have specific date deadlines. Some of them you're attempting to meet date deadlines. Some, right? Every Thursday at 11 o'clock, I show up. There's a lesson I give you. Every quarter, I show up for multiple days. There's a workshop I give you, right? Kind of thing. And so we use, there are lists of activities that go along with each of those discrete projects. There's even a list of items that goes along with showing up to teach you a lesson on Thursday, because not only do I have to think about what I'm going to teach you, write all the talking points, think about, right, how I'm going to pitch the lesson to you. I have to write you an email to let you know a lesson's coming. We have to take the show and we have to make sure we package the show when it's done and put the chapters in on YouTube and all that other good stuff, right? So there's a number of things. Well, there's a list. It might be a list that gets replicated each week, but there's still activities that need to be done. So the weekly inventory of activities that can be placed into the calendar by time slot and day and hour you're going to do them is going to ensure that you get them done. Every day on my calendar at 5:50, it says start writing a book, right? Except that there's a block there to do it, except I need to know that tomorrow is to review the self-awareness section again. Kind of thing, right? So then there's the discreetly, what am I doing in that slot? So that's the relationship between, and then the easiest way to do this and the fastest way to plan your week is to have what, as I mentioned in the mini camp and in the challenge, is to have a template of where the hours or where the deliverables, where the activities go. So I know that every day at a certain time I'm writing the book. I know every day at a certain time I'm having coaching sessions. I know that every day at certain times I do certain things. And I understand that changes because it certainly can change on a day where I have a multiple hour live show versus a day I don't. Except that if I have a vision of what that's going to look like, generally speaking, it's easier to just massage a few things than it is to try to build that from scratch every week. Okay? So those are some things that I wanted to share. And I do want to stress to you that I hope that all of you have I know we all have the short-term items that we need to do, right? The boss tells you, yeah, I need this by tomorrow, or I need you to get that to me so I can put that together for next week. That's great. But there's longer-term projects that we all have. Mine, writing a book, for example, that's a longer-term project. But there's also other things that are longer-term projects of mine that don't have deadlines, but that we have to, is a good idea to give yourself some type of self-imposed deadline to serve as your clock. So there are particular skill sets that I want to build in order to do certain things that I want to do. Nobody but me is driving the date, but what I generally do is I try to think in terms of I want to allocate a certain amount of time each week to one of the things I love, which is to develop skills. Well, I have to develop different kind of skills and things that I'm not familiar with, like cameras and audio mixers and sound engineering and other things. Now, I don't need to be somebody who's going to produce a record album, but I do need that when I go on the live show or I do a podcast or whatever, the sound has to sound reasonable, right? So I have to learn enough in order to do that. Well, that's me practicing to build skills, and I only need to get them to a certain degree of prowess. But there needs to be time allocated on my calendar in order to hook all this stuff up and experiment. So I spent hours and hours making sure there was time on my calendar allocated so that I could test different configurations so that I could do something properly, right? Well, that takes time. That's building skills and that's understanding. There has to be time in the calendar that's proactively planned in order for you to create the space to do those things if what? You want to get better. And so I've shared the analogy with you many times that when I'm coaching someone on a high performance basis, meaning they're asking me, Andy, I want to be the best salesperson ever. I want to be the best marketer ever. I want to be more organized or whatever it might be. So one of the first things I do at the session where we're starting and understanding their goals and where they are, and I give them an assessment, what they take, we examine where they are, what skills they need to grow, which ones matter more than the others, what's the sequence we're going to build them, and all that good stuff. And then I say, okay, let me see your calendar for next week. And when they look at me after they have that puzzled look on their face and they show me their calendar, there's absolutely no time allocated on their calendar to grow the skills they need to grow to achieve the goals they want to achieve. So you need to be proactive in not only thinking about what it is that you want and what is a reasonable pace, but also what are the steps you're going to need to take. And then even if you knew all of that, you still have to be able to make the sacrifices and create the space on your calendar to work on those skills in order to do that. So all of these things, this goes back to how do you look at your week to figure out what is it that I need to do in order to achieve these goals over the course of the year, over the course of the next 5 years, over the course of the next decade, or whatever it is. So it does take a lot of proactivity here. And today is a lot about answering your questions related to a lot of the things that I taught you this week, as well as anything that you want organizationally or productivity related. And before we hit into the questions, I know a lot of you saw the mini camp, but if you are at all interested in making sure that you visit the mini camp and make sure that you can catch it while it's up, there is this watch page. There's a few people that are mentioning kind of their experience with it. But I love Gene. I don't know if Gene's here with me, but it may be great having 20 balls up in the air, but staying on task to a time frame has not always been easy for me. And I think it's not always been easy for a lot of people. And it's not even easy for me, which is why I have to work so hard at getting this kind of structure. And so there's the video that we had on Monday. You can see what Rohan had to say about just the positive changes, and Shelly as well. And Shelly made a reference here about putting her passion project out into the world. And I remember when she was working on this, and she's in my leadership community, my leadership coaching program, and she was struggling with getting her project off the ground. And we had this combination of some organizational stuff that we were doing, plus the productivity challenge that she had recently gone through. And she just talks about her ability to do that. And if you are in the milewalk community, you have access to the private community. Look these people up, ask them about what it is that they've done. But you can go to this page to check out the productivity mini camp. If you are interested in the productivity challenge and want to see what's in it, there is a lot more. You can grab this program. It's $297 if you want to buy it outright. You will get full view into how I create all my lists, how I generate my ideas, how the projects are, how we determine what goes on the lists, the master list, the annual list, the quarterly list, the monthly list, and so on. There's a lot more on planning your weeks and days, running your days. You've seen some 20-minute clips of these. Energy is in there. There's also a very detailed lesson on mechanically how to implement this stuff. So all of that is in there. There's some case studies. There's some things on email management. You can grab it if you're interested, or I will give it to you free if you are a member of my leadership coaching program on any plan. So one of the things that I do want to make sure that I introduce you to today, if you're not familiar with this, is on on a monthly basis, I meet with people who are interested in growing their careers and leading more fulfilled lives. This is not related to job searching, but how to thrive in your career, how to thrive in your job, how to thrive in your life. You got a taste of that this week. And everything in this program is gained at not just the organizational stuff that you've been seeing, which is a major grouping of the topics that you would learn, but there's lifestyle and wellness, there's success and high performance, there's other areas related to building relationships, communication, and influence skills, as well as building out and managing teams, promoting corporate culture, and those kind of things. And so there's a library that is organized for you to help you evolve in your career. And I've built a methodology. It's really a framework of how somebody can grow their skills throughout their career. And where if I had to do it all over again as a 22-year-old, what skills would I work on and when, and how would I work on them first? While we have access to a lot of different lessons in the world, the one thing that we don't really have is that career syllabus that says if I'm a white-collar professional, regardless of whether I'm an accountant, an engineer, a project manager, a marketer, a seller, or whatever, how do I know what skills will pay dividends and which I should work on first? Well, I've laid this all out for you because if you look at different tiers that you can go through as a professional, generally speaking, you need to be able to manage yourself effectively so you can be highly productive. There are skill sets that go along with you being able to produce, right? Being able to focus is part of that. Building good habits is part of that. Being self-aware is part of that. And there are another 9 skill sets that I recommend that you do as a producer. And then I take you through this evolutionary process where you're able to build on top of the skills that you've already developed. And the lowest level, and by the way, lowest doesn't mean easiest, because the skill sets I would recommend building first usually take the longest to build. They're the hardest to maintain, they require the most practice, but they pay the greatest dividends over time. And you build on them and they enable you to actually become better at other skill sets as you race the way up to becoming a visionary. Anyway, check this out. It's really great. This productivity course, the entire course, that middle column there, I will give you free access to everything related to productivity if you join this program on any level at this point before the weekend. So take some time, check this out. We do have a group coaching session on April 14th, which is going to be a lot of fun. You can join for as little as 81 cents a day. If you join on the monthly plan, it's $49. If you are a member of my job search coaching program, I'll give it to you for $39. If you are anybody, it's $297 a year. So for $300, you can get the Productivity Challenge, the Career Accelerator, my Goal Setting Masterclass, and 50 leadership lessons related to everything that I outlined in that pyramid. So give that a look. If you got any questions related to that, I'm happy to address them. But think about what is it worth to you to be able to get your projects done, the ones you want? What is it worth to you to race up the corporate ladder, so to speak, faster, or at a minimum, enjoy yourself more? Think about what that's worth to you. And by the way, it's not just the $297 a year, and it's not just the $39 or $49 a month, right? It's the effort and the time that you need to put into learning the skills. So don't get me wrong, it's not 81 cents a day, it's 81 cents a day for access to the information and to me. It's a lot of hard work and effort on your part to actually put the time in to do it. So, and the organizational tactics that I taught you this week and the productivity challenge or the mini camp that I shared with you this week should give you some insight into how to fit that stuff into your life. So I hope you enjoyed that. I do want to spend the rest of the hour going through and getting your questions. Kara, can you help me organize? Because I got chats going all over the place, and would love to. We grabbed, if you were with me. If you were with me in the premiere, we got your questions. And let me see. Okay. Vero Smith. Please expand more on the benefits of 4 a.m. wake up. Next is 4:30, but you get the idea. Is there any additional insight on why so early? I love all your work. Well, I appreciate you, Vero. That's a great question. So I have tinkered over the years with when I do my best work. And when as I evolved throughout my career, I remember when I was 22 and like the lowest level worker bee you could be, I always felt like if I got in the office early and I had some time to be organized and I knew what my day was going to entail and I could spend some time reading or building my skills or whatever it was, or researching more about what it was that I was doing, or learning my client's business function so I had some clue as to what a global purchasing system did, which is what I was developing at the time, then I would be better. And then that grew into, okay, well, hang on, I got a 25-person team I'm managing. They all come in at 8 or 8:30, and then the questions start and they never stop. I'm never going to be able to get my work done. So I started getting into the office at 6 or 6:30. I would literally get up at 4 o'clock and go for a run so that I could shower, get in my car, and then drive to work. And so what I noticed was that as the time went on and my career changed from, designer and coder to project manager to account partner to practice leader to whatever, to executive recruiter and now career coach, I noticed that the activities that I was doing, that if I wanted to accomplish all the things that I wanted to accomplish, I needed to create more time to do that. So I expand my workday in a format that suits me based on what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, how much energy it requires. Meaning, in the morning when I get up, I usually have my brain's working fastest. It's just been rested. And while you might wake up groggy, once you get moving, you'll be okay. The other thing is that I also discovered that I can write faster, I think up better ideas, and I'm just fresher in the morning when I need to be most creative, and it brings me joy. So not only do I have the faculty and all the senses are working and I have the energy to do what I'm about to do, but it brings me joy and it starts my day in a very positive manner, and I love it. So getting up early and going through the things that I need to do, like envisioning my day, meditating, practicing I literally practice focus, I meditate, I go through and I think about ideas and ways to make your lives better and my life better, and then I write and so on. And I'm faster earlier in the morning. So like between 6 and 8, I could do the same amount of work as I could between 8 and 11, let's say. So my production is faster. And then what I like to do, and you might say, well, Andy, do you work all the time? Well, oh, no. I mean, I might take a break at 10:30 and go for a 2-hour workout, right? It depends. So I've rearranged things in my calendar. Now that I can do that, right? Because I have the calendar control, but with my calendar control also comes risk, right? I got to wake up and make sure we make sales, right? Otherwise I don't eat. I can't pay Kara. My wife can't get the new kitchen she wants, or whatever it is, right? Kind of thing. So I've tinkered with it. Some people are night owls. That's cool. Just know when it is for you. So I align the activities based on my energy level, what's required, whether it requires energy, whether it gives me energy, whether it zaps me, or whatever. I think I mentioned in the mini camp, right? I like doing coaching sessions ideally. I say ideally because that doesn't mean I won't do them at a different time, but at 2:45 and 4 o'clock. Right, 2:45 to 3:45, then I get to pack up that person, make my notes, take the dogs out. 4 o'clock hits, I got another person, but I'm able at 3:55 to think about that person till 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock rolls around, I pack up that person, I take a quick break, I go into my planning mode, and so on. That all brings me joy. So even though you might say, well, don't you get tired at the end of the day? It's pretty easy to talk with people when I know when I'm helping them, and it's fun to meet people, and it's fun to learn about what they're going through, what they need, and it's hugely satisfying to help them. That's why I prefer to do that later. That's all. So that's some of behind that. Missy, what's up? What is the specific best self-co planner Andy uses? So this thing here is the best self-co planner. See, this is the glance, although I know it's kind of hard to read. This is the 7 days, and then the next page, these are all free form. So I draw my columns and all the stuff that I shared with you so that when I plan Friday, Saturday, or Sunday for the next week, I inventory all the things that I need to do for that upcoming week, as well as things that I need to perhaps think about that week for future weeks, and then things that are due that week and the next week, like a Tuesday digest or coaching sessions or any of that stuff. And that's the best self-coach planner. You could probably get this thing for like $9, $19. It's not dated. It's 6 months worth. I buy 2 a year. And I think if you use Best 15, if you go to their site, that might work for 15% off still. So that's the one I use. I also use the Scribe as well, which is a free-form journal. SB, hey Sue, I'm guessing that's Sue. Good morning, Andy. How do you handle and dovetail family, relationship, and other goals with career goals in your 5 questions, especially when they are all consuming? Thank you. You're the best, Andy. Awesome. Okay. So wait, I want to make sure I'm clear here with what Sue's asking, and I'm not sure if she's mixing a couple of different components, which is actually okay. So how do I handle family, relationship, and other goals? With my family, I do not have any goals, but let me be really clear. I have life systems, as an example. So those are a little different. And then I have business goals. Most of my business goals are also systems. Okay, so like I don't have goals like I gotta earn X dollars per year. Like I don't have those goals. I think those are just for stress. I look at mechanics of what happens when I do certain things and how much will that yield and so on and so forth. But I don't obsess over outcomes. And then when you were asking about career goals in your 5 questions, the 5 questions that I ask myself are for idea generation, to create ideas, products, deliverables, solutions, services, and so on that support my ability to grow my business. The 5 questions are, what can I do to better serve my customers? Those are people who pay for milewalk Academy products. What can I do to best serve my community? Those are people who attend and are part of my community, my relationships on social media, and all the folks that come to the live shows on Thursday. That's my milewalk Academy community. And then what can I do to better sell or market my services and sell them? And then what can I do to optimize my internal systems? And then what should I stop doing? Those are the 5 questions I ask myself every day, 5 days a week, literally every day. And it's amazing what will happen as a result of you asking. Wait, number 1, you have to create the time. Number 2, you actually have to ask yourself the question. Number 3, you actually have to think about it and jot down the notes, right? And then sometimes they sit in a book and I never get to them, meaning I never get to implement them because of priorities, short, mid, and long. And sometimes they're things I can change on a dime. Now, those are completely separate from my family and my relationship stuff. When I think about somebody like my wife, I think about what are the things and the systems that we need in order to maintain a happy, healthy marriage. Things like, are we communicating? Do we have time to talk every day? Meaning, how was your day? Is there anything we need to plan? What is it you want to do? When is it that we need to meet those people? Like everything. Like, do we actually have time on the calendar so we eat dinner together virtually every night? We cook virtually every night so that we create that time. So we build our lifestyle, right? And so these kinds of things are set up for success. And if anything happens, I make sure before I plan anything, as does she, that it will not disrupt our ability to have the system intact that we need it to. Yeah, I mean, are there going to be situations where I'm a little busier, she's a little busier? Sure. But we make sure that that never gets out of control because we're in constant communication. It's just an example. But I don't, we don't have, like as an example, we're going to be remodeling the kitchen. We had somebody here yesterday giving us a quote. Today, somebody else is supposed to come for a quote. When that's a matter, like we need the financial resources to be able to do that. That's a financial goal. But I'm the kind of person that has built a system that says I will never spend what I don't have. That's a formula for going broke. And what else? Adding stress that does what? Prevent your ability to concentrate and focus on what? The things you need to do in order to make the money to pay for the kitchen, kind of thing. So I really treat them separately, Sue. I don't integrate it like that, and that's kind of how I do that. And I have my 5 Fs, where it's my family, my fitness, my finances, and that kind of stuff that I shared with you. That I go through my highest priorities that dictate what I do. So I hope that helps you there. Sal, Andy, does it matter if we change the order of the columns? Absolutely not. You can do whatever you want. What Sal is asking about is on this page right here. This is the right-hand page. This is just where I put it. I showed you this in the video. That when I plan my week, so Friday, Saturday, or Sunday for the following week, and sometimes I plan a little on Friday, a little on Saturday, and a little on Sunday before the week starts. What I do is in one column, I put what absolutely needs to be done this week. So as an example, on this page, in the leftmost column, this column right here, if you can see that, there was a list of things that said productivity minicamp, Monday email, confirm everything's in order, Tuesday email, Wednesday email, Thursday premiere, Thursday live show, all the emails to facilitate, I call it a facilitation funnel, but basically are all the emails that they need to get each day, are those all done? And by the way, for this week, it's to watch that, meaning make sure everything goes out without a hitch, so on and so forth. Last week, it was in a column where it said, write them, do them, confirm them, review them with Kara, and so on. But basically, everything that needs to be done this week, that's a special project. There is also some other things that needed to be done this week, like I needed to send a message to my leadership coaching group to prompt them to make sure that they were working on their presentations for April 14th. And so I had to send them a message. That's a boom, it goes out, right? Then there's a middle column. In the middle column here, right here, there's in the middle column are activities that I'm going to be mindful of, working on, thinking about, marinating on, ruminating on, call it whatever you want on, for something that's due next week, the week after, or the week after. So on that, there were adjustments that I needed to make to my job search coaching program story page or something, right? It's not something I need to do this week, but it's something that needs to be ready for next week, and actually I can do it on Monday, kind of thing. But it's in there in the event that I create space, somebody cancels on me or whatever, I immediately see it, bang, grab one from there, it goes in the empty slot. Highest value activity wins or whatever, right? Kind of thing. And then on the right column are always lists of things that I do all the time, such as on this list right here, it says Thursday email digest, Thursday, all that good stuff. Then it says digest goes out. Tuesday next week, there's a digest that goes out. Thursday next week, Wednesday next week, Friday night, whatever it is, right? There's a podcast, there's a LinkedIn digest, there's a boom, boom, boom. And then I also put in here, there's about a dozen people who need coaching sessions. We're trying to schedule them. Who do I need to schedule? I have to make sure I have everybody front and center. Kara says, here's the list, here's their dates, here's their time zones, here's their whatever. So they're never going to be able to make your preferred slots. We have to create new slots for them. You're going to have to break out something else. I need to see all that, right? And then each time we schedule them, they come off the list. And so I never lose sight of anybody that needs to be taken care of, kind of thing. On there's Ernie's marketing review. It's there. I won't forget it. I need to make sure that it has a place on my calendar this week or next, because I have a 2-week window that I promised him, kind of thing. All that's in front of me. If you want to move your columns or you want to mix and match, it makes no difference, Saul, to me. I just want you to have some listing, but the reason I put mine in 3 columns, you could put yours in 5, 2, 1, it doesn't matter to me. I can see the relationship between what has to be done, what could be done but doesn't need to be done, but what I might need to move forward. I might need to work a little bit on this to position myself better. It's just a way for me to mentally organize it. I hope that helps. This is a great question. And then this one I actually was waiting for, this next one of yours. Andy, isn't MVP setting you up for a weak project, weak W-E-A-K, from a procrastination and semi-perfection? Dude, you know I love you. You know I love you. This is my favorite question I've gotten in a long time. Because when I say, I want you, so if you don't know what an MVP is, oh, I don't have my mug. If you don't know what an MVP is, I'm convinced that the most successful people in the world use MVPs. I don't know what they call them. That's what I call them. Minimum viable product or minimum viable prototype. And why do we want these? Because here's the difference. Let's say you got a month. Okay, let's just say a month. Okay? Let's take a month period. I would rather you spend a week and get a product, a white paper, a whatever, up and running, living and breathing as fast as humanly possible with the minimum of scope, the minimum of features, the minimum of services and whatever, because the minute it is living and breathing, you will get observable, immediate feedback. You will know what people are using, whether they like it, what could be added to improve it or whatever. The person who doesn't want to put something out and get it living and breathing says, I want it to be perfect at version 1.0. By the time 30 days goes by and you waited 30 days to create your product, I'm going to be on version 10. Because I'm going to be able to iterate and keep improving it. So on a day of your choosing, when you say, Andy, let's compare products, mine is going to be real life tested. Let me put it a different way for you, Saul. The boot camp that you were not a part of years ago had 5 sessions. Okay, it had 5 sessions. It had a starting session, a marketing session, a searching session, an interviewing session, and a negotiation session. 5 sessions. I created it on the fly, live with people, version 1.0. Version 50.0, here we are, 5 years later, plus, has all supplements, new versions of these, supplements of all other stuff, additional coaching programs, online support, major, job search challenge, interview intervention 10th anniversary, mini camp promotion, all this other stuff is just me iterating and making it better and better based on the feedback we're getting. Or I could have waited 5 years to do nothing and given you all this at once. So it didn't weaken the project. It strengthens your ability to get the feedback to see what's working. My way, I find out faster what works. Your way, you find out slower what works, and sometimes you get all the way to the spot where you can't recover it because the time is gone. It's lapsed. You don't have a chance to improve it. You've failed, right? So I never want to be that. Every Thursday, I show up with a minimum viable product. It is here's the best way I could describe this. This probably will really hit home. The procrastinator feels like when they release something into the world, it's final. The minimum viable product mentality is every Thursday I show up and I give you a show that while in and of itself might be a final view, it is a brick in a big wall. That's my YouTube channel, which constantly gets improved over time. And then what happens is, based on whatever Thursday show it is, I get feedback from the world to know what else they needed to know about that. How can I improve it? How can I do better? And I'm constantly upgrading. So That's what I mean. So when you think about releasing something into the world, just think about it as a version. And then you can always make 1.1, 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, and so on. I just think everything needs to be usable. So it's not weak. Now let me be clear. I'm not saying the plane that's going to fly me from here to Florida, I mean, version 1.0 better work, right? Kind of thing. But you're going to tell me that they didn't have umpteen prototypes that they used for each circuit board and switch and everything, thruster that was on that plane, right? Kind of thing. And they kept going minimum viable products for pieces until they put it all together and it worked. So I'm talking to 99% of the scenarios for that you all, Saul and the rest of you, will likely encounter in your lives. And if you think that way, you're going to get more practical, usable things in this world. That's just the way I think. You're constantly in test mode. It's the way to go. And so let's see, what do we got? We got another one here. Sue, we don't have any silly questions here at my special shows or my live office hours, weekly shows, or any of that. In the example of a relatively important project due in 4 weeks at the weekly plan stage, does it fall as a bucket in the intermediate or due now, or both? Yes, both. Here's why. So in my columns, there's a column that says it's due this week, it's due soon or near. Well, I've got stuff that I can't get everything done in a week, right? Okay. So every week, let me give you an example. Sue, you'll love this because you're in the leadership program. Every 4 weeks, folks, every 4, so every 1 month block, I do a leadership coaching session. It's new material. It requires me to create the talk, give the talk, write the workbook, slides or whatever if I use them, and so on. Week 1, Sue, there's a leadership there's a column that says in week 1, write outline. Week 2, near, says, write talk, flush out the talking points, workbook, so on and so forth. Build their product announcement, and all the other things that go along with it. Okay, except week 1, now, the only thing I got to do this week, right, of week 1 of the 4 weeks is make sure I got the outline. I know the 5 to 10 base talking points I need. That's the deliverable this week, although the other leadership stuff is due next week and the 2 weeks after. Next week comes around, it's okay. It's not just points. I need to sketch out the material, right? The 3rd week, add the stories and examples. The 4th week, make sure the book's written, the product's loaded and everything. So when I give the talk, after we're done, bang, I turn it on. Then I load it and they get it before the weekend, kind of thing. And so you're going to have things in different, you might have your project spread across different columns. It's for me to know, hey, if I could do a little more on that, I might, instead of just writing the outline, if I did it really fast in that 15-minute block, I might, if I did it really fast, or maybe I had a half-hour block, I might start adding some meat on the bones, right? Just to help me for next week. It's a great question. Gigi, what's up? Okay. How do I stop going down rabbit holes and get back to focusing, especially since a lot of us work in isolation now? You have some trust. I work in total isolation. Okay, I truly do. Meaning there's nobody yelling at me. There's nobody driving me. There's nobody anythinging me. Right? Nobody's, right? Kara's not yelling at me. Not often. But, no one's driving me. I have to drive. I'm driving the bus. I got to do the stuff, right? She helps me, and between the two of us, we get a whole ton done, which means I have to stay on track. Otherwise, stuff won't get done, right? Kind of thing. And for you, if you are, you are like me, where you're, right, you don't have a lot of people poking at you. The reason that I'm able to stay on track is because of what I've given you this week in relation to, I look at my day tomorrow. Okay, so when we're all done, I'm planning tomorrow. Tomorrow looks like get up, morning routine, write the book, get in the car, go to the doctor, take my 2 appointments, get back home, do this, that, and right, and then run through the day, rest of the day. At each slot, I know what I'm going to do and I know what needs to be done. And so the reason that people go down the rabbit hole is they're not mindful of what they have to get done. So for example, if you have a deliverable due and your slot is 10 to 11, you need to have in this noggin up here, you need to be able to look at it and say, at 11 o'clock, here's what I need. The paper needs to be done, or I need to have 8 companies identified, or I need to know the names of so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, or whatever it is. As you start to go and drift away, there's usually, if you've looked at the calendar before you go into the slot, there's a reminder of what needs to be done that helps you get back. The other thing that I do, and I didn't go into this in the mini camp, but I spend all day, every day, building my willpower, and my willpower is it helps me stay focused on doing what I'm doing. And the way that I build the willpower is with whatever I do. And I got this from my favorite monk, Don DePani. I love the way he broke this down. So I don't want to take credit for this. This is his formula. But he said, whatever you do, anything you do, folding the clothes, washing the dishes, cleaning the coffee pot, doing a live show, whatever this is, finish what you start. So you start it, you finish it. Okay, that's step one. Step 2, do it a little better than you thought you would. Step 3, do a little more than you thought you would. And as you keep doing that, it's building your ability to concentrate and focus. And willpower is about exerting control to complete or resist impulse. It's both of them simultaneously. Resist the impulse to stray away, resist the impulse to eat the potato chips, focus to be able to complete, and exert control to complete. So as I'm doing these things, it enables me to make sure that I can concentrate when I need to concentrate and never lose my train of thought or never lose my train of what I'm doing. But when I'm doing something, the reminder before I start to do it, the cue is this needs to be done. Like when I start to write tomorrow at 5:50, I know 1,000 words need to be done by 6:50 or whatever. Or actually, technically, tomorrow it's wrap the one chapter, do the exercise, and make sure the exercise is complete. But I know I have a deliverable tomorrow between 5:50 and 6:50. Okay, it's there. It says that better be done, right? Kind of thing. If I want to stay on track. Now, is my life going to end if it's not? No, of course not. But it's making sure that I'm always in a state of building my muscles that I need to draw upon when I need to do something, but it's also alerting myself and cueing myself and reminding myself. I've talked at length about the reminders that you give yourself. Every show like this that I do, this one included, before 11 o'clock rolled around, I sat down by myself. I put the dogs wherever they needed to be, and I sat down for 5 minutes. This is probably like 10:50 to 10:55. I thought about you all. I thought about who shows up on a Thursday in the middle of the day at this time to engage in my work, appreciate them for that. They need my help, otherwise they wouldn't be here. If they knew what I knew, they wouldn't need me, right? If I get asked similar questions as I've asked before, right, remember to answer them jovially and empathetically and sympathetically, right? That person just found you today. They didn't watch all your but I reminded myself of all of this. I didn't just walk up, turn the camera on, and go. So the reason I'm saying all this is because whenever you start something that you're going to do, remind yourself, what do I need to do? What am I about to do? What needs to be done? By when does it need to be done? Or what happens if it isn't? What happens if I get interrupted? Right? And then as you start to stray, you pull yourself back. So there are so many things you can do, but that little reminder, the thing about, like I've talked about, it's impossible to be grateful and stressed at the same time. So that, you might have heard people say this, you might have heard me say this about how much time that I mechanically I write in my journal every morning and the things I'm grateful for. And even if I went every day and wrote that I was grateful for the exact same thing, the only one thing that I was grateful for every day, the fact that I did that Number one, it just reminds me. Number two, it doesn't give me a chance to be stressed. Number three, the more frequently you are reminding yourself about the things that you need to do, the more control you'll have and focus you'll have over the things you're actually doing. So the rabbit hole question is fantastic because there is absolutely no beat, no alert, no sound, no nothing going on my whole day. The only time I check email is when I'm scheduled to check it. Okay, that's it. So by design, I don't let intrusions get into my life because you'll never be able to get done the things you need to get done if you do. So there's a whole host of things. I don't know if you're in the leadership program, but any of you that are in the leadership program, the focus session is really good. And there's a willpower session in there as well. I've given you my version of willpower. I threw Don DePonte's little 3-stepper in there too, but I give you a whole hour of Andy on that too. So that's a great question. But working in isolation is about you regulating you in the environment you set up. Cue in your environment, and part of your cue is to remind yourself, right? It's everything. It's the space itself. It's not getting interrupted, not letting yourself get interrupted. All right, let's see. Lisa Williams. Oh. Love this one. What if a task takes longer than the time allotted? Talk about starting and stopping to match the calendar versus just continuing to finish the task even though it bleeds into the next time block. Lisa Williams, at 9:45 today, today I had something at 9 that I was to be done at 9:45. I was 2 paragraphs short. Then I looked at the clock and I said, I know what I had at 9:45, which was a stretch and whatever. And I needed to totally transition, set everything up, run through, make sure everything's ready, do all whatevers, right? So then I go into, okay, I have if-thens, like if this doesn't get done. 3 hours before, I said, if I don't get something done, what will I do? I already thought about it. Then right when I get up to the time, there's repercussions. Okay, if I keep going and finishing it, is it better to finish and take something out and move it later? Can I do that? What's the repercussion? Was I working in something at 9:45 that didn't need to be done? Now, if this was 10:45, that's not negotiable. I need to be here, right, for you. So that's not negotiable. Repercussion, very bad. Right, but the 9:45 activity was something I could slide. So I knew that. So I finished what I needed to, and that was good because I was right there. So now let's take it another step. Let's say, Lisa, you're sitting there and your boss walks in your office, and your boss wants you to stop. And she says to you, Lisa, can I interrupt you for a minute? And it's 9:50 and you got a 10 o'clock meeting. Now, you could finish what you're doing. Maybe it was something she needed. Maybe it was just something for you. Maybe she wouldn't care about it. Maybe she wants to derail what you were doing, not intentionally, right? Bosses do this, but they need you to work on something else. There's a million things that you can do to determine what you should do. But the one thing I recommend most of you do is explain to your boss, okay, I just want you to know, if I stop doing what I'm doing, this is the penalty to you. You don't need to use that language, right? You need to convey to them, if I stop and I don't get this done right now, and I stop and I talk to you, this is what this means. You're not going to have such and such by the end of the day, or I'm going to have to give it to you without that information, or whatever. Like, you need to help other people understand the repercussions, and the best way to do that is what's the impact to them. Now, sometimes people interrupt you and there's no impact to them, right? In which case, if there's no impact to them and it's a situation like this, you need to, right, talk to the hand kind of thing. Let me get back to you at 2 o'clock. Let me get back to you when, or whatever, when I finish. So I also want to go one step further on this. If, for example, you are doing something that you aren't able to complete in the amount of time you allocated, I want you to make absolutely certain that you take a close look as to why you didn't get that done. Was it more complicated than you thought? Did you think you knew it better than you did? Did you decide to add a little more to it? Or did you just stick to the facts or just get what you needed to? Did you MVP it or not? Or were you, right, the creeping elegance, the scope creep kind of thing? Because what? That information and that reflection is going, you're going to be able to channel that into what? The next iteration. Right? You ever notice somebody who always underestimates everything that they do, even the amount of time it's going to take them to get from point A to point B? Right. That person pays absolutely no attention. They have absolutely none, mind you, an ability to think about what just happened, either because they don't have the capacity to do it or they didn't take the time to do it, which is probably the more likely situation, right? If you don't take a moment to look back at what happened, you're never going to be able to recalibrate for the future, right? Kind of thing. So there's a number of things there that I hope, are good for you to chew on. And I'm always thinking that way. Medina T, hey Andy, you are the best too. Thanks for being a great leader. How to stay committed and have the faith in whatever one's doing. As time goes by, things seem less achievable. How did you never give up on your dream? You are a leader, and I don't ever want you or anybody to give up on your dream. I think there are a number of things that go into this. Do you know that right here, do you remember I said I got reminders? Can you see this? Let me see if I can get this. See this one right here? Right here. It says you are being prepared. Okay? Struggles, all these other things that I either have myself or picked up from my coaches or whatever. Every single day, every single thing I do, just work related, let's say, is contributing to what? The person who I am and who I want to be, is helping me achieve goals that I want to strive for. But let me give you an example, because you asked about as time goes by. So on December, in December of this past year, okay, on December, let me get the exact date here. So December this past year, I started writing on December 2nd of 2022. Actually, December 3rd. And every day from then through a stretch like into January, like every single day, I didn't stop writing. Every single day, every morning, Saturday, Sunday, doesn't make it, Christmas or whatever. Okay, so I would write, and every single day, I would write more. Except like the whole goal of releasing a book that isn't going to be released for at that time 16, 18 months, right? Because it's not going to be released till mid-2024. I only have this writing block on this day. This is all I have right now. And so I look at it as I'm going to write a bunch of words. The joy is in the doing. There are days I'm going to struggle, right? Except what a privilege it is that I get to write this book that is going to help people who really need it, even though it's not going to help them for a year and a half. And then I look, okay, now I'm practicing my craft. I'm writing. Some days it flows, some days it doesn't. I know I get to I get to iterate it and all that other good stuff. And I think about this block here. I'm doing what I love. It's such a privilege. It's going to help people. They need this. And there's always a level of necessity attached to whatever I do, right? Like you could have a big event that you're training for in a marathon, figuratively, that you want to run. And even if you don't run it, but you train, the training itself had benefit to you, right? Maybe it made you feel better. Maybe you lived a healthier lifestyle. Maybe it gave you more energy, whatever it was. But it also showed you that you can do it. And so the combination of finding the joy in the doing, making sure that there is a necessity that somebody needs, and even if it's just you, that you need it. The other thing is, every single day, I want you to think about that is a test for me. The reason people don't feel confident is because they don't test themselves enough. If you don't take tests, you don't know you can. So every day is a test against my discipline and all the other things that go into being able to write so many days in a row, because that's not even the hard part. The writing is the easiest part at the end of the day, right? All the other stuff becomes really hard to market and sell the book and all those other things. But when you think about all the things that it takes, each one of those is a test. Each one of those is necessary. Each one of those is helping you work towards something, but it's helping somebody else. And so I channel all of those things in to help pull me to do what I do every single day. And so when you think about you use the word faith. I have faith that whatever is going to happen, it will happen the way it's supposed to happen. I will end up in the right spot. This book will either be a bestseller or not. It's not, whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. But I'm going to do whatever I can to put everything I have into it so that when it's released, I know I did everything I could to make that first MVP of the book good. And so I have faith that what I'm doing matters. And if you don't think what you're doing matters, then you need to do something else. If that's the cold, hard truth. And so if it doesn't matter to you, you need to look for the source of why you took it on in the first place. A lot of times what most of you are going to find is you took something on because somebody else wanted you to, or you were worried about how you were going to look to somebody else. I wrote this book for me, right? I wrote this book for you. It isn't how I look. I don't even think about whether they're going to like it or what Amazon reviews are going to be. I don't think about any of that stuff. I think about this is going to help them. And everything is just so concentrated on things that really matter, that to me really matter, that help me on any given day I don't want to do something. And you just keep going. You keep going. You got to believe that what you're doing matters. I think that's one of the biggest pulling forces. There's so much that goes into this, but it is a great question. That's a really great question. Sal, Andy, can you share your notebook with us? I have so many books, like this book here. Can you see this? I don't know if you can. Wait, can you see? I know you can't see this all legibly. These are all writing days. These are all numbered. There's the date. There's what I did. There's how many words I wrote, right? Kind of thing. There are this here. You see this? This is the 15 lessons that were going to go in the book initially, except I altered a few. And so this is a book log, right? This book here is a planner. This thing here is a desk pad that has dates on it. So I look and I have a visual of everything that's going to be done on any given day that's important to me. You're going to get an email that I spent a lot of time writing and a lot of energy went into it. And then here's another thing, like going back to what Medina said. And then we look at, well, who read it and who didn't. It doesn't matter. Whoever was supposed to read it, read it. Whoever wanted to read it, read it. I'm not going to not pour my heart and soul into it, because if that one person changed that one person's life, that matters. I will never say anything I do doesn't matter. I hope you don't say that. And so, Sal, let me know if there's anything specific you want to know about the book. Ian, the one-page summary. The one-page summary is downloadable. Kara put it in the... Wait, are you guys loving... I am loving this. Are you... Hey, I got so many chats going and I got things weird. And hang on, let me see. I gotta get to... I think I got the right chat. If you are loving this, click the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the station and share it. And please share it. All right, wait. What is... the one-page summary. Is it Eva Sroka? When to take no for an answer. The first time. So, if I want to, let's say you're a seller and you want to pitch your consulting services, your product services, your product, your thing, your widget, your whatever. Let's say you're a job seeker and an employer says, we don't want you to work here. My mentality is the world is abundant. Anybody who insists on not taking no for an answer thinks the world is limited. Okay, now I don't know you, Eva, so I'm not calling you this. I'm saying generally, you asked me when to take no for an answer the first time. Because if somebody said no to me, I could, somebody's going to say, well, the greatest salespeople, they would pitch them and stalk them and not take no for an answer. Why? No? Okay. I don't care. You don't care? You don't want it? I don't care. Now, in the example I just said, first thing I would do is I would look at me, not them. Could I have pitched it better? Might I have highlighted something that would have been better for them to have perspective? Okay, so I look at me, and then what do? The next prospect, the next employer, the next whatever, I'm that much better. I have faith that that no was a pawn being moved off the chessboard to teach me, because life happens for me, not to me. Okay, so it's for my own good. Now, what a lot of people do is they think, well, I have to get in. Why? There's 8 billion people in the world. There's a zillion companies. There's employers falling all over themselves that would be to hire you. Why not? Who cares if they said no? Who cares if she doesn't want to date you? Who cares if they don't want to this or that? Right? Kind of thing. Because there's a big world out there that I have faith in. I just believe that it always works out. It always has. Has it not? Kind of thing. Right? So if somebody says, well, Andy, I don't want to buy your program. Okay. What do you want? If you have a question, Andy, hey, I want to get some information to know whether I want to buy your program. Happy to share. Right? Kind of thing. And then you don't like the video, you don't like the book, you don't like the this or that. That's okay. It wasn't for you. I'm not going to sweat that. Right? Kind of thing. So I'm happy to take no for an answer. One less thing I got to worry about. I don't have to waste any more time. Kind of thing. Hope you guys could get there. This is a peaceful place to be. It really is. It really is. Kara is telling me that we are just about at the bottom of the chat. Wait, Sue, when will you let us know the topic you are writing about? Sue, you're a leader. Were you not there for the book titling? Although the other morning, after like 1,000 hours of agonizing and whatever, I think we're right there with the title now. So the book I'm writing is a leadership book. It's a career skill building book. It is modeled after my leadership coaching program. It is your career syllabus for your life. And it's broken down into, there's an intro to the book that explains why the book is necessary, but there's what's called a technical set, because imagine, much like anytime you're going to go out for your big game, your warm-up, there's ways you want to go through your routines to remind yourself and all that good stuff. So I take you through this technical set of lessons to get your mind dialed in correctly. Then I teach you about skill building and the evolution of the methodology, that pyramid that I showed you. And then I take you through 15 very detailed lessons, and then I teach you how to build your plan and all that other good stuff. So that's what the book is about. It's really it's a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, next Tuesday I have a session with my acquisitions editor to talk about some things. Now that draft 1 is done of the book, I have a deadline of the end of June, and as a matter of fact, I'm probably going to be pulling together a pilot group of people to help me think through some things that I would like some outer feedback on related to the book. So yeah, it's really, I think it's really going to change a lot of lives. I really do. All right, what else? Kara is so impressive with all that. She is. Can we get okay, I got 2 minutes left. I want to spend it this way. Can we give Kara a huge shout out? Lots of love and hugs and kisses. It's okay. You can blow them through the chat. She enjoys those. And if you have any questions about the productivity stuff or the leadership, I give you the whole just get in the leadership program any which way. We'll get you the access to the productivity challenge, the entire thing. You have the Career Accelerator, which is like another $400 program. You get the Goal Setting Masterclass, which is another $200 program. And that right there is $900. And that doesn't even include all the leadership lessons, which is where the real gold is. So I hope you take me up on that. We've got a session next April 14th where I'm going to open up with a little talk. We're actually doing some case study presentations from some of the leaders. And then the following month, I'm teaching about delegation. It's going to be a ton of fun. You know where to find us. One other thing, members of the Job Search Coaching Program, we're on next Thursday. So my live office hours is off next week because I'm spending it with my boot campers. If you're interested in getting in the program, don't go to the page. Email Kara at support@milewalk.com and ask her what the best price is because we're going to be putting it on sale for a couple days next week, and we will be happy to extend that to you now. It's really a lot of fun. Okay, all y'all, I've really enjoyed this week. I hope you all have a great day. Have a great weekend. I'll see you in your inbox on well, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, with just some reminders if you're interested in jumping into the program, into the leadership program. Otherwise, y'all be good out there. And for anybody who asked me about the faith, have the faith. Everything will work out the way it's supposed to. You're right where you're supposed to be. I promise.